Beyond truth and lies are the stories without answers. Welcome to Dragon's Bread. We all like to believe we're responsible for our lives. It's ours to keep. And if threatened, somehow the truth will protect us to keep us free. But imagine your world gets turned upside down. And instead of truth, it's lies that prevail. And there's nothing you can do to make things right. Where is your freedom then? And can it be found in a place like death row? This is Damien Echols' story. And this is the episode we're calling West Memphis Free.
One day, I saw an angel. I remember watching TV in our living room. It was me, Jason, my girlfriend at the time, and my sister. And we were sitting there watching TV whenever the cops started banging on the door. And at first I thought, they had been harassing us for like a month before that. So I figured they were just there to harass us again. So I wasn't even going to answer the door. I said, fuck it, let them stand out there and bang on the door. But you could tell there was something different this time. They weren't just knocking. They were banging hard enough to make the wall shake where the door was. And when I opened the door, it looked like pretty much every cop in West Memphis was standing there with their guns pointed at me. We went before the judge. That was when I found out who had confessed. The judge said, that Jesse Miskelly had confessed. They've got the transcript. Do I want it read out loud in the courtroom? And I said, yeah, read it. He refused, would not read the confession in the courtroom. Instead, they took me into a broom closet back behind the judge's chambers and gave me a typed transcript of the confession. And I'm sitting there, I've been up all night long. I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm in shock. But even in that state, when I'm reading this thing, I can see that none of it made any sense whatsoever. From the moment they brought us out of the county jail, as soon as we were arrested, they immediately brought us out into a sea of cameras. This was like a bomb detonating in a small town whenever these murders happened. There is no time in it. The moment I woke up, the moment my eyes opened in the morning, I would wake up pissed off. I would probably smoke 3 to 5 cigarettes back to back, like lighting one off the butt of the other before I even stepped foot on the floor, just laying there looking at the ceiling and thinking, these people have no right to do this to me. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm eating garbage. I'm being feasted on by blood-sucking insects all day. I'm dealing with guards coming in, tearing my stuff up. I could not find my way to anything, any sort of spiritual practice at all. I could not let go of the anger enough to get into it. And what happened was whenever you're executed, the only person who's allowed to be with you is your spiritual advisor. No family, no friends, none of that. One of the guys that was being executed, he eventually became a Rinzai Zen priest before his execution. The guy who was with him during his execution was a Zen master from Japan. After the execution was over, they allowed him to come back on death row and just sort of walk down the row and tell everybody, you know, how the guy died, what his last words were, how he held up during the execution, stuff like that. He gets to my cell, we start talking. He says, "Why don't you write to me?" He gives me his address, leaves. I started writing to him. This guy ends up becoming my teacher. The next thing I know, he's coming back and forth from Japan to death row in Arkansas. Eventually, I ended up receiving ordination in Rinzai Zen. But still, you know, I sat Zazen meditation for hours a day for years. And I still felt like I must have been getting something out of it, but I felt like, you know, I'm not having any of these experiences I've always heard about. You know, these great, amazing, magical things that I read in books, this sense of enlightenment, I'm not getting any of that. So at the time I thought, fuck this, I'm gonna stop doing this, and I'm just gonna focus entirely on Magick. There is no time, and there is no time. You know, I'd always been interested in ceremonial magic all the time, ever since I was a child. I learned about it for the first time probably when I was about 7 years old. When my mother had me, she was 15, my father was 16. So, you know, everybody in our family was just bottom of the barrel, poor white trash, no education. So you didn't find, like, you know, books, Shakespeare laying around our house. The only sort of reading material that was in our house were these really shitty tabloids my grandmother used to read, and not the, you know, Inquirer ones where they're talking about what celebrities are doing and who's getting divorced. I mean, these old school, printed on nasty paper where the front was like, you know, half alligator, half man found by the banks of the Mississippi River, or Bigfoot abducted me, or Bat Boy found in cave. All these sorts of things. And when she had these things, you know, I kind of say this jokingly now, but it wasn't really a joke when I was a kid. She didn't read these things like they're like tongue-in-cheek, the way people in New York City now would. She read these things like she was reading the newspaper. And you never know when we're going to have to be on the lookout for this crap. You know, you never know when we're going to have to take up arms for this alien invasion coming to the trailer park. But I remember looking in the back of one of these things and seeing an ad, and this ad said something like, you know, want to learn the secrets of the universe? Send $5.99 off and we'll send you this book. And it was a book on magic. And I can remember it, when I saw that, it was like something flared to life inside me, and I knew this is the only thing that mattered. They took everyone on death row, moved us to a new prison, and put everyone in solitary confinement. It looks like a bank vault. You're sealed inside 4 concrete walls and a solid steel door. They open a slot in that door to push your tray through when it's time for you to eat, or if you get some mail or something. There's no natural light. Then your shower is a faucet on the wall, and there's a drain in the middle of the floor. They turn the water on and off whenever they want to take a shower. Sometimes it's scalding hot. Sometimes it's freezing cold. You have no choice, no say in the matter. You just sit there and wait to die, basically. For me, it was kind of a godsend. It shut out all distractions. From that point on, I had very little contact with anybody else. So that was one of the things that allowed me to go deeper and deeper and deeper into my practice. I became absolutely obsessed. I was doing magic up to 8 hours a day. I had to learn a bunch of different techniques that are like abbreviated versions of real techniques. You know how you get that feeling sometimes like somebody is watching me, and you open your eyes and look around and sure enough, there's somebody looking at you across the room? I would get that sensation and look over, and there would be a guard looking in the slot at what I'm doing. And I figure, okay, they're gonna think I'm crazy if they keep looking in the cell and seeing me pointing at the wall or doing this Village People impersonation, whatever the hell they think I'm doing. and then they're going to pump me full of Thorazine, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life as a zombie in the cell. But one day, I saw an angel. The only way I can come close to articulating what it was that I perceived is to say that the way that my psyche registered it was as two black triangles. One large black triangle that would be, I suppose, the body, and one smaller black triangle that would be the head. There's no facial features, there's no limbs, there's no wings, none of this. But I knew exactly what I was perceiving, and I knew to the core of my soul that this thing was just as sentient and aware of me as I was of it. From that point on, I never, ever again had any doubt that what I was doing was effective, that it was doing something in some way.
What year was that?
See, I got out in 2011. Stuff like that is really hard just because there is no time in there. There is no time. I remember I started getting a lot of letters from people. You know, people were seeing the documentary, The First Paradise Lost, and she wrote me a letter.
Do you remember what the first thing she said to you was?
I don't know.
Deep in your house of privilege, high upon a hill, all of your creature comforts still ain't got your fill. Drinking your gin and tonic, filling up your ashtray. There's no tomorrow. Goodbye, lady day. Goodbye, lady day. What will entertain you? Apocalyptic dreams, not some far-off fiction, but for many it seems. Flames are climbing higher, lungs will choke today. Pray there's no tomorrow. Goodbye, lady day.
Do you remember the first time you saw her?
All I remember is sitting in the visitation room looking through the glass at each other, talking. She had flown to Arkansas from New York, and I remember after she left, I talked to her on the phone. May have been later that night, may have been the next day, I can't remember. But she said that as soon as she left, she had collapsed in the parking lot just crying because she knew that her old life was over. Meeting Lori was just as profound and life-changing and even devastating as being sent to death row. You know, keep in mind that I had started to die inside. It was like having to go through physical rehabilitation. I had not experienced anything even close to love. You know, the only people I'm around on a daily basis are people who want to murder me. And I knew from that moment on, these people cannot murder me. They may be able to hurt me. They may be able to make things really hard for me, but they cannot murder me. I saw an angel.
Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from
Damien.
This call is subject to recording and monitoring. Thank you for using T-Netics. You may start the conversation now. Hey, honey.
How you doing?
I would call Lori every single morning, and she would tell me, for example, oh yeah, we're getting ready to have this benefit concert to raise awareness where, Johnny's going to come and play, and Eddie Vedder's going to be there, and Natalie Maines, and Patti Smith. And she would tell me those things, and that's great and all while you're on the phone for that 15 minutes. But as soon as you hang that phone up, that may as well be, somebody telling you they just found a statue of a face on Mars. It's not in there with you. You're eating garbage 3 times a day. You are living in pain, in fear, in trauma, abused and degraded and dehumanized every day. It's just trying to survive another day.
What year was that?
I would say there is no time. Maybe even 2000. It was a slow, very slow, gradual thing. It wasn't like an overnight thing where suddenly they're, talking about the DNA evidence or any of that sort of stuff. It really was like a slow, very slow, gradual buildup. And I think part of it was due to the fact that I was interacting with it.
You guys want to introduce yourself? My name is Damien Echols. I'm 36 years old and released today from death row for a crime I did not commit over 18 years ago.
I went from almost a decade of solitary confinement to being on the streets of Manhattan overnight. Everything out here was a distraction. I used to go to drugstores just to look at all the ink pens and notebooks and types of candy that were, just because I had not seen things in almost 20 years. And I was so scared I was going to miss something that I would just go out and walk up and down the street until I was so exhausted that I was tripping over my own feet. It was like I could not force myself to go back to my spiritual practice. I did not practice magic at all for probably the first 3 years I was out. I had at least 1, maybe 2 complete nervous breakdowns in those first couple of years. The first 2 to 3 years that I was out, we traveled non-stop. We were always on the move. And that's when you see a person at their most vulnerable, when they're wore out, when they're tired, when they've been, going through. There were times when I can remember doing 18 interviews in a single day, being so tired you can't think straight, wearing dirty clothes, never knowing when you're going to see home again, wherever the fuck home is even going to be, having people ask you the same questions over and over and over and over. That stuff destroys you inside. And I can remember being in a hotel somewhere, and we had both just gotten to the point where we were fucking broken. We couldn't do it anymore, but we couldn't not do it because we didn't have anything. We had no money, we had nothing. We were just doing whatever we could to survive. And I can remember Lori was drinking a green juice of some sort, like a green spinach or something. And she dropped the glass and it shattered on the bathroom floor. And I remember her just screaming, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. It was like at that moment where you have this idealized version when you're in prison of how great life is going to be whenever you get out. That's when you realize that was an illusion. This is what life really is. It never occurred to us that there was an option to do anything else.
I got something left to hold on to. Got something left to believe in. Got your loving heart to keep me warm when darkness comes in.
Where was the turning point?
The first couple of years that I was out of prison, I would not even talk about magic, because that was what they had used to try to kill me. I would not even talk about that at all. A friend of mine, we were talking at one point, and she said, if you let them take away the things you love, if you give up what you love and give up what makes you you, then they may as well have killed you. You're not really alive anyway. And that was when I knew I had to reclaim that. So I started actually, talking about magic, and I did a podcast with a woman named Tammy Simon about magic and practicing magic and how it helped me survive prison and all this. And she was also the founder of the publishing company Sounds True. Immediately after this podcast is over, she says, would you be interested in doing a book with us on magic? Keep in mind, at that point, I could not read, much less write. I thought my writing days were over. But to me, as a child, like if someone would have told me one day you're going to have a book out on magic, to me, that would have been like the highest status symbol I could have conceived of. I thought if you have contributed to the body of knowledge that is ceremonial magic, you fucking made it. But I explained to her what was wrong with me, the problems that I was having. Her response was, well, let's sort of go about this the opposite way. Come to Colorado, go into the recording studio, and just speak what you know. So I said, okay. I went in that recording studio every single day for a week. I had no notes. I had nothing. I was so traumatized and scared about the fact that I didn't know what I was about to do that it made me start doing magic again. And it was like everything that I had studied and practiced and done my entire life just came vomiting out of me. It just came spilling out like a flood. And the entire week was over like that. Before I even knew what was happening, I had finished it.
How do you make sense of what happened to you? What do you tell yourself?
That nothing happened to me. Everything happened for me. Everything that I thought was a curse, everything I thought was a hell realm, was secretly a blessing. But that I never knew that until I got to the other side of it. When you're in the midst of it, when you're in the midst of the battle, when you're in the midst of the pain, when you're in the midst of the anguish of the situation itself, whatever it is, that's all you can feel. All you can feel is the pain. But when you get to the other side, you look back and you say, oh, now I know why that happened.
Well, in another day, if you can find a way to
So I'm a vet that's been trying to do the conscious business thing for a while now, so I've been keeping my ears and eyes open, looking out for outlaw do-gooder types. And by that, I just mean people that are willing to cut through the bullshit to do a good thing. Combat flip-flops was on my radar early. These dudes walk into active and recovering war zones, and they make flip-flops, jewelry, and apparel from exploded ordnance. They're former Army Rangers that are willing to go to bat for peace. For every product they sell, they put an Afghan girl to school. That's cool. They make these bangles from exploded landmines, which helps clear 3 feet of space. And that's a huge problem in abandoned war zones, is these places are littered with buried ordnance. And that's dangerous for kids and families. So, to join their unarmed forces and help support vets promoting peace through great products, visit combatflipflops.com. Use the code DRAGONSPREAD and get 25% off. Combat Flip-Flops. Bad for running, worse for fighting. For previews of upcoming episodes, animated videos, and to download soundtracks, visit tuimedia.com. Big shout out to Burger Records. Go to our music page and you can learn more about the artists featured in this episode there. Stay true, people.